Right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. And I'm really excited to be here with Verena Hilgartner, Nature Journaling in Germany. Thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having me, Molly.
Yay. Okay, so let's start off with this. Could you describe like a recent nature journaling outing for you and maybe show some of your nature journal pages to get people started kind of getting an idea of what your
Oh,
daily
yeah.
or your, regular nature journaling is like?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. Um, well, it's pretty cold right now in Germany. We are at the end of winter, but it's like -7 degrees right now, so the adventures are pretty cold and short. And but I try to
Uh-huh.
get out anyway, so it's more like jumping out of the public transport and journaling stuff. Is it okay if I just put it up into the camera?
Yes.
I hope it
Yes.
gets
I think I can
that.
make you bigger too. Oh, here we go. Um,
Yeah,
there
well,
we
it's
go.
just my nature journaling experiences in Berlin. That's the like
Ooh.
Fernsehturm there, and it's like jumping out of the public transport and just journaling some very like wintry trees and stuff, and enjoying at least the sunrises that we have with little
Ooh.
color coming back into life. And yeah, well,
Mhm.
that's my most struggle at the time, that it's like pretty much cold since half a year, but nature is
Wow.
finally coming back, and so I'm enjoying a lot of sunrises recently. And
Ooh.
yeah, that's like amazing to have the ability via nature journal to participate in the slowly but steady beginning of spring again, and that's what I really like about it right now. Yeah.
Nice. Great. That is really cool. Let me switch back to this one. Thanks for sharing that. People always love to see, it's a very visual audience, of course, so people always love to see
Yeah.
some nature journal pages right at the beginning. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what the nature journaling community is like in Germany, like in person and online. I always am like looking at your posts on Instagram and wondering or trying to guess what you're talking about. And it seems like you do a lot of online stuff, but is there in-person stuff as well? What's the community like over there?
Yeah, I try to do much more in person now that COVID is finally ebbing off. It's much easier just to meet people in person, and Berlin is a quite big city, so it's really it's not impossible to meet fellow nature journalists. But the bubble is quite small still. It's more like urban sketchers. I saw at
Mhm,
your stories you're also like participating in those events. But we have a
mhm,
regular like monthly meeting with nature journal
mm,
groups. The next is on Friday actually. So we're like a small
mm,
group with like 10, 12 people, always depending on the weather. Now we're doing it inside over wintertime because it's just dark in the evening. Um,
mm,
yeah, but I started like nature journaling as my like income business via the
mhm.
start of COVID. So I switched to online nature journaling, like, oh, nature connection and journaling via Zoom. Great idea, Verena.
Uh-huh.
Great. But it worked anyway. And we have like a
Yeah.
network of online people now meeting up every month and enjoying via YouTube, like similar to your nature journaling show, and just yeah, staying and journaling live together. And that's like wonderful because it's a quite new concept in Germany still.
Mm, mhm. Okay, cool. That's a great sort of idea there. And then I did interview, oh no, I'm blanking on her name right now, but I did interview an Austrian woman who's part of the German language nature journal
Yeah,
club, and they have the Facebook group Das
yeah, yeah.
Naturskizzenbuch or
That's
something.
a
And then
book,
there's
yes.
a yeah, and then there's another, is there another Facebook group for, nature journaling in Germany?
Yeah, yeah. We found each other because the like translation from nature journaling is Naturskizzenjournal. It's quite difficult because people like Google for nature journaling, and I never found the
Mhm.
Naturskizzenbuch. And we just recently connected, like,
Mm.
wow, there's a whole new bunch of people. Welcome. And we greeted each other on
Oh,
Facebook. And I founded the
cool.
Nature Journaling Germany because everyone is Googling for that. And now we're just
Mhm.
reconnecting and yeah, turning to each other. It's like wonderful. There are people, but well, I don't know how it is for you, but a lot of people do nature journaling but don't know that it is nature journaling what they're
Yes.
doing, and you have to introduce the concept like, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing my whole life. There's actual name for it.
Uh-huh.
Hey, we're friends. And that's what's like
Yes.
slowly but steady coming to Germany, like all the people sitting outside in the park and like drawing ducks and like, oh, you're nature journaling. Like, what? I'm just
Uh-huh.
looking at my duck. That's quite funny.
Uh-huh. Yes, there's
Yeah.
that step of sort of connecting with the people that are already doing it and then helping them see like, oh, there's a bigger group of us and a bigger community and some more sophisticated tools sometimes also for
Yeah.
applying these perspectives. So,
Yeah, like all the
okay, cool.
questions, that it's okay, and it's not important how you draw, and so many people are so relieved, like, "Oh, that was the point I didn't like about it," and now they're so happy, and like, "I could just draw and use stuff whatever I like." And it's, "Yeah, and we do it. You do it too!" And then, like, we're
Uh-huh.
instantly friends.
That's great. So do
Yeah.
you meet people like that sometimes in the park and everything? Does that happen a lot?
Well, yeah, I meet people sometimes, but sometimes I'm too shy just to ask, like, "What you doing? Are you drawing?" Because I
Uh-huh.
myself don't like it if people disturb me while I'm drawing so much. But because
Yes.
of Instagram, yeah, people recognize me from because Berlin is a quite it's
Mhm.
a big city, but not so many green spaces, and the green people are walking there, and then like,
Mm.
"Hey, aren't you the one with the nature journaling?" Then you get into conversation, like, "Yeah, let's meet up," and we're
Uh-huh.
it's growing, yeah, but n
Okay.
like talking to people and asking what no, I'm too shy for that.
Yeah, yeah. I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about language now, because I always think this is interesting, and I have
Mhm.
brought this topic up at several conferences, but a lot, as you might know, many people in the US are very monolingual and sometimes aren't quite aware of, I mean, if you only speak one language, it's hard to think about some of these things. But
Mm.
so my first question for you is, why do you think it's important to nature journal in your mother tongue, in your mother
Mm.
language? What difference does it make? Like, do you
Mm.
feel different when you nature journal in German versus when you nature journal in English?
Well, I actually have never nature journaled in English, like, just listening to talks in English
Uh-huh.
and then talking in German about in my mother tongue about this, but,
Mhm.
I think it's one barrier less. If you do the like, in a foreign language, I don't know, you're fluent in 2 languages, I guess, and my English is quite
Mhm.
good because of Berlin, you need English all the time. But there's some but sometimes it's not that bad that you don't know a word, so you have to
Mm.
work your way around it. Like, you always ask, "What do you see?"
Mhm.
Don't, like, name it, just describe what you see, and
Mhm.
sometimes that's like a little hack to work around those
Mm,
naming
interesting.
everything and having concepts all the time, and if you don't have the words. Like, if I see stuff from you in Spanish, like, "Oh my god, I don't know," and it's like, "Oh, I wonder what this could be," and so
Mm.
for some people, there's not so much, like, stuff in German about nature journaling. I am writing a book right
Mhm.
now that's amazing for people who don't know English that well, mostly the older generations.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Mm.
there's a barrier, and the knowledge should be spread wide and far. And yeah, that's a very good question. I will take that with me. Maybe completely mixing that up, and everybody is speaking their own languages. Berlin is a very like multilingual city, so maybe we should
Mm.
put that in a new concept. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Haha.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
talked
I
to I
love
don't know
it.
if you saw the interview that I did with, Maria Ermolova-Torrada. She's Russian, but she lives in Japan, and
Yeah,
she
yeah,
nature journals in her pages are in Japanese,
yeah.
English,
Mhm. Yes, Verena.
also, Russian, and sometimes French as well, and so that was an interesting I like the way the pages look, even though I can't read all of those
Mhm.
languages, but I also asked her sort of about, like, the different reasons why, and so, for
Mhm.
example, like, in Japan, sometimes it's necessary to put some things in Japanese because, maybe the names cannot be translated
Mhm.
or the names have these other meanings, um, and so that was one thing that she mentioned, and then when she put stuff in English, it allows for other people to read her pages, other people in the nature journaling
Mhm.
community, And then when she puts stuff in Russian, it's helpful for her to show her family and her friends in Russia and stuff like that. So that was an interesting conversation. And
Yeah.
I do a little bit in Spanish, and when I'm traveling in Spanish speaking countries, I'll do or if I'm teaching in Spanish, I'll nature journal in Spanish, but I mostly do everything in English, and have kind of learned that. It's starting to rain very hard outside.
Oh.
Okay, thank you.
Well, but my last thought on that is like maybe
Mhm.
language is not the last thing the last thing you need sometimes when you're journaling with people, and you can communicate so much via pictures and counting stuff, and then learning some
Mhm.
new languages via that. And sometimes I'm from a part in Germany like Bavaria, where there are kind
Mhm.
of special words for stuff and like exchanging, having fun, and
Mm.
language is such a fluent thing. And then maybe sometimes you don't need words at all and connect.
Mhm. Great. Okay.
Mm.
You sort of already answered this question, but I was going to ask you, why not just nature journal in English?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really amazing because I can compare the online and the offline community quite good now. And the online community is mostly like my age, 20, 30, some 40-year-old people. And offline, it's like, I hope I don't anger anyone, but it's 50 and up. And those people don't
Uh-huh.
speak English that good. And so
Mhm.
they always like, why do you even say nature journaling and not like Naturjournal or something like that?
Mhm.
But the amazing thing in the English word journaling, it's like the doing in the word. Like journaling,
Yes,
it's a thing
right.
you do and not like that's your nature journal. And in the German translation, if you say just Natur, like diary or Tagebuch, it's completely lost that it's a thing you do and not a thing you have. So I like the
Mm.
term nature journaling because I am doing something, or I am living like a lifestyle with it.
Yes. Okay, so my next question about that is you can't turn the word in German for journal or sketchbook into a verb,
Yeah, it's hard. Like I
is it?
really tried hard because of the book that's it's coming out in July. The publishers didn't like the like English title because it's a German
Right.
publisher. Like, hey, we don't like nature journaling. Like I really, if you have a good translation that's like coming to the heart of the
Yeah.
process, the thing we're living, then give it. But no, there's no possible way yet. Like it's not a nature
Mm.
diary, it's not like a more scientific thing. It's just the journaling, the process. It's so much more. And that's always my problem with English words. Sometimes there's, and now like it's a whole like movement of nature journalists. And why should you change the word up? I don't know how it is in other languages, but I like to just stick with it and add to it with like a German subtitle and stuff.
Mm. Very interesting. In
Yeah.
Spanish, we don't have a good translation either for the verb.
Okay. Mm.
Yeah, we can only
What do
make,
you call it?
and we've tried several.
Mhm.
Diario de Naturaleza is my
Mm.
favorite.
It's more like
There's
diary
also
then?
some, yes, yes, yes.
Mhm.
And then some people are also, we tried cuaderno de campo. A cuaderno is like a sketchbook,
Mhm.
and campo is like field, but the
Yeah.
sound is
Mhm.
more like a little more technical sounding. Um, and I have another friend who's a multilingual nature journaler in Ecuador, and she likes Diario de Observación, which
Like
focuses on the
observing stuff.
observation.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, because the definition of nature and defining our practice based on what we're looking at is a little bit
Yeah.
problematic. And I think we'll get to talk about the sort of what is nature when we talk about
Mhm.
rewilding, but that
Mhm.
can be an interesting distinction as well. But we couldn't come up with a good verb. But this is something I'm curious about for all of the languages,
Yeah.
is as nature journaling grows in those languages, how will the names come about?
Mhm.
Will multiple names come about, like with the multiple nature journaling in German groups?
Yeah.
How will it find its way to the like best name that represents the language,
Yeah.
but also the concept?
Totally, yes. But I like to stick to the English name because everyone is like searching for it, and I'm like into
Yeah.
SEO, and then it's like we can find each other and then experiment with new names someday. But it's still developing, I guess, and forming new ways. And maybe the principle of not naming things in the first place is also like it's just like what you're
Yeah.
doing and from the heart, and everyone is doing their own way.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I have to work
Mm.
with SEO also, so I understand that. Okay, my other question here um is and I asked this whenever I talk to people who are nature journaling in different
Yeah.
international communities, but are there any things like nuances, novelties, innovations that you think are unique to nature journaling in Berlin or Germany? Like, do you think that you see a style, for example, kind of like a regional or any differences or ways that you see a difference there?
Good question. Well, I haven't seen all the nature journalists from around the world, so I don't know what is unique and what's not. But the thing here is everyone is so generous with their ideas, and everyone is copying ideas from each other, and you see where ideas develop into each other. I'm like doing this for 2 years, and like just how you write the date and the like weather is like I started something, some people took it and it's developing, and 2 years later it's like the whole new thing, and people are like, yeah, that's how we do it. And like, yeah, do you know where this comes from? This was a mistake I made and you made the other mistake. It's like I don't know where this is going, but it's like developing all the time. And the thing we have, especially in Berlin now, is that it's quite a very urban city, and
Mhm.
we have to look for ways where we find wild places in nature. I don't know how it is where you live. I see a lot of like wild deserty stuff, and so I was like, wow, it's like in the movies. And here's like, well, a lot of skyscrapers and yeah,
Mhm.
humans, and we have to find our like tiny bubbles of wilderness and enjoy them. And that's maybe the stuff we in Germany and Berlin have to search for, the tiny wild
Mm,
bubbles. And we
got
are
it.
awesome
I
because
think
we
we should
found
do
them.
yeah, we should do an episode in the future. Maybe you can help remind me. We could have you and a couple other people that do sort of urban nature journaling. I think would be an interesting topic for a conversation.
Oh, yes. I love it.
All right, cool. Next question is just how did you get started with nature journaling? And like, what is your sort of story of getting started?
Small questions. Okay. Oh, well, I don't know. Maybe like everyone, I was always like nature journaling and didn't know it. It was my refugee, and
Mm,
I did like go to uni and did some like art education. I was like always like, oh, I cannot draw, but I love being outside and like sneaking out with tiny journals and drawing of a tree, and like, oh no, I'm not good at this. I have to like design 3D objects. And Google advertisement was very good at some point and suggested the John Muir's book. It was like,
mm,
there are guys doing this. Oh my god! And it's like clicked. Like I
wow.
love nature, I love art, and then I'm good with internet stuff, and so it's coming forth. And yeah, love of nature finally being my job. That's like
Mhm.
my destiny. It's the best thing I could wish for. And meeting people who
Great.
are like-minded. Having those conversations I'm
Um,
having right now, meeting people around the world, it's like dreams coming true.
Nice. So, what recommendations do you have for other people getting started with nature journaling in Germany?
I don't know if it's specific to Germany. Maybe in the wintertime,
Mhm.
get out, even if it's cold. And if you don't go outside, then go to the window and just start. I That's the most asked question in all my Instagram DMs. Like, how do I start? I don't know
Mhm.
where. I don't know when. Like, I have a very tiny journal at the moment. Like it's DIN A6, like very tiny,
Mhm.
compared to the John Muir's. If you know that, it's very
Mhm.
small, and that's like laying on my coffee machine in the morning. And that's I do not get a
Mm.
coffee before I journal, and that's like my hack to go into it. Like being honest with yourself, why you want to do this, and then just do it or leave it, but don't be like treat it like homework. And maybe like with if you go for jogging, sports stuff, get a buddy where you can do stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
But in
Great
Germany,
tips.
mostly fighting the cold at the moment.
Yeah.
Getting motivated to go out, getting dressed.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm not that great in cold weather, so but I have interviewed some people that nature journal in extreme cold, so it is possible.
Yeah, I'm always
Um
like impressed by the Alaska guys and like, oh my
yes.
god. Yeah, it's
Okay, so
amazing.
next then is maybe you could describe your work and your brand and your educational content a little bit, and I could put a link here to your Instagram for anybody who wants to follow if you don't know already.
Yes.
Amazing Instagram. Even if you can't understand German, I highly recommend following.
Well, and the translation of Instagram is quite good, I guess. Yeah,
Mm,
the business I'm doing, it's like teaching nature journaling everywhere I can at every opportunity I can. Like I have a variety from like there's museums who book me for their like employees or kindergartens or schools, like more like teaching the teacher. I'm also a kindergarten
mhm,
teacher myself, and I at the moment I work with grown-ups. I like that. And teaching them how to teach the people they are new
mhm,
with. Um, and also online, that's like I'm giving introducing introduction to nature journaling a lot. And yeah, every opportunity, everyone who asked me, "Would you mind giving a workshop?" Like, yes, of course. I don't care where. You want me to talk about nature journaling? Of course. And then it's happening, and the word is getting around. And then, yeah, my book is released in this mid of the year, and I hope that the message of nature journaling is not spreading just online in Germany, but offline. And online, I'm mostly on
mhm,
Instagram because I was like, that's kind of my generation. I will never
mhm,
understand TikTok, I guess. I don't know. That's
mhm,
this is not my field. I'm glad that I understand Instagram, and that's my field of connecting to like-minded people. It has been all the time, and now it's like
mhm,
there are over 10,000 people wanting me to talk about nature journaling, and that's like
mhm,
greatest gift and exchanging about this topic. And that's where I sometimes advertisements about cool nature stuff, and yeah, and somehow I'm so thankful I can pay my rent with that.
Yay.
Yeah.
That's my that question's coming up actually.
Oh, I'm
So,
sorry. I
um
didn't wanna take it. Oh.
um is it possible to make a living from teaching nature journaling?
Small baby steps, and I'm, like, only 2 years in, and that's via COVID. Um, and I
Mhm,
always have to fall back with the teaching kindergarteners.
mhm,
So that's like a good backup. And the system in Germany is very like forthcoming if you want to do new stuff and have a good idea.
mhm,
But it's like a month to month play, and I don't know if I'm in like May
mhm.
still being able to do it, but every month I can do it, I take it. And otherwise, I will like
Great.
I'm living in a shared flat with 4 other lovely human beings, so my rent isn't too high, and like keeping my expenses very low so I can live this dream. So yes, it's possible.
Nice. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm keeping my expenses low right now by living in a shed in my mom's backyard.
Yeah,
So,
I read that. Is that
um,
true? Wow.
yes,
Like,
yes. I
amazing.
mean,
Do it.
lots of yeah, lots of traveling, and it was possible to keep my expenses low traveling, surprisingly. And now that I'm back in California where things are very expensive, I'm
Mm.
living in this shed so I can focus full time on nature journaling stuff. Okay, next question. How do you find a balance with your between your personal practice and teaching and creating so much content online? Do you ever find that
Mm.
it's hard to just kind of do nature journaling for yourself or kind of connect with
Mm.
nature when you're always like thinking about how to make your next Instagram story or your next video and stuff?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I'm always asking myself if I see your stories, by the way, like, where's like the line you drew? But for me, it's more like sharing my private life, my passion, and reminding myself time to time to film it like backstage. Just putting my phone on and just talking from the heart and being authentic. Like the one who's getting up at 6 a.m. this morning and just sitting at the frozen lake and watching ducks and sharing that, and people can't connect to that and like, oh no, I'm not the only one doing this. And I think it would be kind of weird to draw the line there. Well, I don't share a lot of
Mhm.
very personal stuff. That's where I say no, that's
Mhm.
not okay.
Mhm.
But everything that has to do with my passion about nature and art, that's being shared. And sometimes I'm like, wow, do I just sit somewhere and draw for myself? That's not
Mhm.
happening so much lately. I have this private
Mhm.
journal where I draw daily. That's not just shared with my like steady supporters. It's like Patreon.
Mhm.
Um,
I saw
so I
that,
know
yeah.
everyone who is looking into that because they're like places where I'm often, and that's like out of privacy and security reasons. I don't want the whole internet
Right.
to know. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think you have to be very, very like careful that it doesn't get an annoying part of your life, the nature journal. Like, oh no, I have to do a page. But my workaround is like to meet up every Wednesday with people at 9 a.m. and like, hey, let's nature journal. For me, it's like a job, and like I have time to nature journal. And people
Mhm.
like just accompany me, just
Yeah.
finding the way in between. And I
Yeah.
think the moment it
Great.
annoys me, I
Great.
will stop because it's too precious for me. It's like saved my life so
Mhm.
many times.
Wow.
Mm.
Okay, so any advice for other people who want to be pro nature journalers like you?
Pro like professional? Uh,
Yeah. I
I
mean, if you're making a living
do it.
from it, then it's you're
Mm.
professional.
Well, I uh, I don't know if I will ever see me like that, but it's like doing your thing and what you love, just doing it. Just go outside and do stuff you like and don't really give a about what others think. It's so
Mhm.
many people said to me like, "Oh, you cannot draw good enough for teaching," and I really like that stalled me for like 5 years because I was like
Wow.
devastated. Like, well, I love that, and it's well, the duck. I don't know. You don't know. Maybe the duck had two like beaks. You don't know. And people were this. I was very discouraged, but don't let people discourage you. Mostly don't not the people who don't draw themselves. And otherwise, I think
Mm.
people who draw will never say that your drawing is shitty or you shouldn't draw. Or
Mhm.
yeah, look for people who will join you. Look for your tribe and get
Mhm.
outside. I'm always saying like take like a scrap from your printer and some free pencils you can get and just start. And you don't have to
Mhm.
show it to anyone.
Mhm. Okay. Great advice.
Hmm.
All right, next, let's talk about rewilding. I think actually a lot of my audience probably is not familiar with this concept, so um, you get to explain it to them.
Loving it. Um, yeah, well, that's maybe my special like spin on the nature journaling as well, because I'm
Mhm.
an art educator and also a wilderness educator. It's like not survival teaching stuff, but more
Mhm.
like there's a saying like thrival, like you don't work against
Mhm.
Mother Nature, but just like living that's your home outside and being
Mhm.
comfortable with the cold and stuff. I'm also still learning. Um, and that's the rewilding part in it. That's every page I draw and every observation I make, all the questions bring me closer to nature and a little wilder. And I get to know stuff or don't get to know what I don't know. And that's like, I have not so many fears anymore about nature. It's like a
Mhm.
big mystery still, but it's not. I'm I feel at home outside, and by journaling it, it's like drawing kind of my family and getting to know stuff and being at home. And
Mhm.
also, yeah, making fire and building shelters and documenting all of that in a journal as well. It's
Mhm.
a lot of like feeling the stuff. And in the wilderness education, there's also like a method for teaching the coyote method. I don't know if maybe you've
Yeah.
heard of it. Yeah, it's like always
Yeah.
like more
Mhm.
the questions and not answering so much. And that's also a very overlapping topic to nature journaling for me.
Mhm. Yeah,
Like being
okay,
amazed
so
in
that's really funny
environment.
because
Yeah.
my next question was, how does it overlap with nature
Mm.
journaling? So, from I actually started off in, primitive skills and
Oh, yeah,
nature
let me
education
know.
before
Yeah.
learning about nature journaling, and I used to go to I mean, I'm about to go to one in a couple weeks, but the here we have these primitive skills gatherings. It's like a festival. I don't like festivals, but this is like a cool festival where everyone's camping for a week somewhere, not always wilderness, but sort of wilderness, and practicing and teaching skills. And we all get together and eat food. And there's like a big fire, and we roast pigs underground, like Asterix and Obelix roasted them above ground.
Yeah.
But and then we teach
I don't know what to say.
classes and so I started learning about nature journaling, and the first
Mm,
time I went to one of these gatherings after I learned about nature journaling, I was like doing the nature journaling, and it didn't feel like it totally connected. So
mm.
maybe, or in some ways, I was questioning or doubting. Maybe you can describe. You started to describe already, but maybe you could describe from your perspective how those two can work together or overlap.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny that you say that. Yeah, because now I'm remembering in my like education I got for the primitive skills. That was the word I was looking for. Um there was like the homework of doing some journals. They actually called it like that and was
Mm,
like more like you choose kind of one bird you like and you do like 5
mhm,
pages on just that bird, and it was annoyed and was like, ah, I don't want to do it. And but because of all the questions and asking and um there was a like a wilderness skills symposium a few weeks ago, and all the people there were like, oh no, I love the program stuff, but the journaling part is so hard for me. And
mm,
those people were so glad being in knowing now the nature journaling perspective, because the pressure was gone of having a journal
mm,
with pretty pictures, and they still are allowed to ask questions. And that's the whole point. You don't have to like copy a Wikipedia entrance to
mhm,
be correct and know something, but just to observe it and ask more questions than you can think of now.
yeah,
And I think the asking questions thing is it, and the observation and just being connected, the nature connection part, or whatever nature is for you, like being in contact
mhm,
and getting to know each other. And that's the thing I got to know from wilderness skills, that it's more
mhm.
like being
Okay,
there again. Mm.
great. So then my next question, I mean, it seems obvious. The connection to me seems obvious, but I have to just get outside of my own mind because it seems to me like nature journaling applies to everything, or you can make an argument that it applies to everything. So it's helpful to hear your perspective. What can so let's reverse it a little bit now because I often think about, like if I'm learning something new, sketching it, maybe sketch noting or using my nature journal approach with any new skill that I'm learning, like tracking. It was super helpful for me to learn tracking. And even when I did, I've done these certifications where you go out and they test you all over 2 days and you have to look at tracks. And I used my nature journal the whole time. And I'm like, every time we had a question, I would draw the tracks, and I find it super helpful for tracking. But let's flip it now and see what can nature journalers incorporate or learn from rewilding. So I think that we sort of described how the nature journaling perspective can help with learning these different skills and everything. But what are some aspects that are lessons or things from rewilding, maybe some of the philosophical stuff as well, that you think can apply to people who are nature journaling?
Hmm. I think as a nature journaler, when you're quite new to the concept of just, well, I just draw this, maybe blind contour drawing, and then looking some questions up, and sometimes that's it. And I myself got from the wilderness side of all of this, that I'm connected to everything, that I'm part of it, and being more like the heart, the like the feeling, the heart, and all the emotions. That's more like the diary component of like all the emotions that's inside of it. Sometimes I'm like all in the measuring and writing stuff, and the wilderness for me at least is more that I get really to feel the connections, because I learned there to really dig into the dirt, get my nose down to the tracks, and maybe that's some barriers that also get broken down then. Because otherwise I'm just sitting in my chair and journaling, I don't know, and if you're
Right.
learning some wilderness skills, you're getting your hands dirty, and that's sometimes very important. And I just
Okay,
found my
so
page where I learned the trekking part and journaled it, and it was
ooh,
awesome. And that's
let's zoom in on that.
oh, can you?
Wow.
I don't know if you can read anything, but it was like
Yeah, it looks cool.
amazing. In the midst of Berlin, like raccoons and foxes, maybe, yeah, foxes and some crazy birds, and learning about like wolves coming back to Germany, not in Berlin, but outside of Berlin, and so many great things.
Wow.
And just having this sheet, I come always back to it because that's my cheat sheet of like how many toes does a fox have again? And that's in my
Nice.
nature journal. It's
Great.
great. Yeah.
Okay, so here's another question that I think about a lot is sometimes, I have been asked by other people, like so say I'm in sitting in nature and I have my, nature journal here and I'm nature journaling something and I have been asked by some people and then now I'm always thinking about this question, but is this sort of putting a barrier, an intellectual sort of filter between me and nature, or is it actually, do you see that argument and what do you think about that? Because I think, you're mentioning the sort of emotional heart connection to nature and like getting your hands dirty as things that maybe nature journalers can take from the rewilding perspective is like maybe be a little bit more experimental when you're out in nature and let your hands get dirty sometimes, sit in the dirt, get rained on. But what do you think about the argument that some people might say that this is sort of intellectualizing nature too much? Do you think that's valid or?
Well, if people feel that's a barrier, then it's totally valid. I can't argue with that. But for me, it's you have to be very honest with yourself. If you feel it's like holding you back or putting a fence between you and the wilderness, then maybe you need it right now, or you can like break it down bit by bit. Sometimes it's scary being outside in the rain and stuff, and it's good to like just hold something and be like, "Don't bite me, please." But sometimes like the white journals, they're like pretty crappy right now because they're like just sometimes I just get them outside of my bag and they just lay beside me and the dick's crawling over them and I'm like, okay, I cannot
Yeah.
disturb you now. I'm just watching you now and enjoying it, and afterwards just writing stuff down. It's like it shouldn't be a barrier, but if you need something to hold on to, or but I don't think it's I maybe I should look into that more, but intellectualize, I don't think so. Not for me, at least. Some
Okay.
people maybe need that. I don't know.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like what you said about being honest with oneself because I
Mm,
think that the human brain is really good at coming up with stories to explain
yeah,
things and we might not know if that's actually true. So like for example, if someone is afraid to maybe deep down someone's actually afraid to draw,
yeah.
but then their brain comes up with the story that drawing the duck is going to like create a separation between me and nature and suddenly the brain's like, "Yes, I have a story now for not being brave enough to draw and I can
Yeah.
explain it away." So that's the thing I try to be careful of with
Mm.
myself.
That's a very good idea. Yeah. Maybe, I can imagine that because it's not so scary just to sit in the rain, and but drawing inside the rain, it's more scary. But I think if you don't look too hard, some people dare to draw anyway, but they don't ever tell you.
Yeah,
That's my experience. Like, you I saw you drawing from the other side of like, "No, I didn't." Like, "Okay, well, that's your choice."
that's
Sometimes it
funny.
happens and we don't know it.
Okay, are you ready for the lightning round?
Oh, yes, there's a lightning round. Yeah, of course. I try my
Okay.
best.
All right, great. Make your best lightning sound. Excellent. All right, that was wonderful. I think I can make a lightning bolt come up here for a second. I should have made that come up when the yeah. Okay. All right, so first they're going to be short ones like yes or no, and then there will be some longer ones.
Okay.
Is coffee an essential art supply?
Yes.
Are
No
you
explanation needed.
organized or messy?
Organized. Out of need.
Okay. Nature journal alone or with other people?
Trick question, but mostly alone.
Okay. Does your family understand what you're doing?
Yes, they try.
Oh. Snacks or no snacks?
Snacks. Always bring snacks.
Okay. Are you a perfectionist?
Yeah, I guess so. When we're talking about being honest.
Plants or animals?
And fungi? Oh, well, animals, I guess.
Okay. Ink or pencil?
Ink.
Do you ever put your pencil or pen in your mouth?
Yes, of course. Who doesn't?
Some people are really against it. Um,
Oops.
uh, big picture. Do you like to nature journal the big picture or the micro stuff?
Micro. I want to draw big, but that's more practical.
Okay. Would you rather nature journal on the planet Mars or in the deep sea?
Deep sea.
Okay. Fast or slow?
Fast.
Okay. What face do you make when someone comes up to you and says, "You are so talented, I could never do that"?
The laughing face.
Okay. All
But the
right,
kind
great.
one.
Okay, now we're gonna go into the longer ones.
Okay. Oh, it was fun.
Yay. Okay, it's not over yet. So, if you could have a nature journaling superpower, what would your superpower be?
Drawing in the dark.
Ooh, that's new.
So many amazing stuff going on in the dark, and I cannot see it and cannot draw it.
Okay. I've probably asked this question 50 times, maybe. That's a new one. So,
Oh, good.
nice job. I'll give you a couple previous ones just for fun.
Yes,
So, one
please.
of them was superpower to shrink down really small and go inside of animal holes and nature journal what's happening inside of them.
I want that too.
That was by Ray Bonto, who's the I
Oh,
think
yeah.
he's 10 or 11
Yeah,
now.
yeah. I know him, yeah.
He's amazing. That was his
Amazing, yeah.
superpower that he wished for. Another one is to have a bubble that protects from temperature, rain, and everything, and to be able to
Mm,
go anywhere and nature journal from that one.
check.
To have the vision, like the binocular vision, but built into the eyes, so you could zoom in and yep. So there's some good ones.
Oh, yeah, that would scare
Okay,
so many away.
next. Yeah,
Good.
next question. If you were stuck on a tropical island, and could only bring 5 nature journaling supplies, what 5, supplies would you bring?
Wow. My fountain pen.
Okay,
That
which
that
is that the Safari or
yeah,
Lamy
yeah.
or
Yeah,
whatever?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that count as 1, my palette?
We'll count
Right.
palette we count palettes as 1, so okay,
Palette
2.
1. My water brush.
Water uh-huh.
I can brush it off with my clothes are allowed, I guess, so no towel needed.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe sketchbook would be fine to draw on, so I don't have to do paper by myself. Well, that's it, I guess. Maybe some pencil, maybe like a ruler, but I don't need it anyway. Maybe a water
Wow, so
bottle. Some
you're good
snacks.
with okay, alright, snacks, alright, good job. Okay. Um In the nature journaling Olympics, which event would you compete in?
Well, I think that's a high comparable category, having the most started sketchbooks, maybe.
Okay, great.
Or
How many do you
yeah,
have?
yeah, many. Like I studied art, so there are a lot of like, oh, now I feel the inspiration. Oh, not anymore. Like I haven't have them all anymore, like 50, I guess. But now I just finished my
Wow.
third sketchbook. It's going somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah, but
Wow,
it's like
wow.
I have very the inspirational phase of I'm doing something new. I'm buying a new sketchbook. Oh no. Yeah, maybe
Yes,
that would be my
I understand that one.
thing.
There is gonna be there's gonna be a lot of competition in that one. Okay, last question from the lightning round is what animal would be best at nature journaling?
Oh, good question. Oh, maybe how do you call it? The fluffy caterpillars, because they're like a brush themselves and they
Oh.
can just
Oh,
brush
wow. That would be very cool art.
like a
Okay, good
very
job. You
fluffy.
survived the lightning round.
Yay!
Right, how do I make that go away?
Those are amazing
Good job.
questions. Thank you.
Yeah, that was fun. Okay, so um let's get into a couple sort of personal questions here and then we'll close up.
Yeah.
What would your sort of dream project, if you could do anything, there was no money limits, no time limits
Mm.
or anything like, what would your dream project be?
Mm. Maybe like a physical location where I could journal. That's my dream for the next years, because like it's very expensive to have like a physical space here where you can just meet up and
Mm,
have people coming to your place and just being and journaling, enjoy nature, like maybe conserving a forest, like protecting it, and
mhm.
just being able to have all the journal supplies for the people who want, and being open for like people to dive into nature journaling, and like
Wow.
providing the space to everyone who wants. That
Wow,
would
that
be
I would go there.
so
That sounds
wonderful.
awesome.
Yeah, me too. That's Thank you
Great.
for the question. Mm.
Yeah. Okay, next question. What is the hardest part about what you do?
Like in general, not giving up, that your dreams can support you, because it's really hard, and explaining everyone again and again that it's worth it, and that it's not just like drawing cute plants and animals, but it's like a very, for me, my way of it sounds so pathetic, like it's saving the world for me, because
Mhm,
if you don't see if the swifts come back earlier or later, and if they're gone and nobody notices, it's like pretty damn scary, and somebody has
mhm.
to draw it and watch them, and yeah, that's it for me.
Okay. All right. Okay, last question here is, what do you think the future of nature journaling is?
Ah, it's a bright future. I really think so, because in Germany there's like a whole wave coming. We're a little bit later than English speaking countries. It's it will be awesome. A lot of people are already like sketching, urban sketching and stuff, and but a lot of people don't like city buildings and like perspective and the freedom of just being outside and doing something, because of the forest bathing is not for everyone, and the meditating
Mhm,
outside and just being creative in nature. I think that's for many people the key, and it's good for the people and for nature. And I think there's a lot of good stuff coming, and a lot of awesome people to connect who felt alone and now have someone
mm,
to connect to.
mhm. Awesome. Okay. Is there anything, that we didn't talk about yet that is really important, either about your work or about nature journaling in Germany, or anything that I didn't ask that I should have asked?
Oh, no, you have very good questions. I'm thinking about it, but now it's like wonderfully framed. All the rewilding was in it, and the, the language barriers sometimes. No, it's just I'm really thankful for the connection the web we're webbing around the world now, and that we're able to talk, and
Yes.
it's wonderful. Yeah.
Great. And then what's the best place for people to, find out more about you? Where would you direct people to, or what would you, as a call to action for people to sort of follow up, what's the best place to find you?
Follow me on
On your Insta?
Instagram.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Just follow or hit me up at a DM or something, or there's a link tree, and there you can find everything else. But Instagram's the main
All
account.
right. Great. Thanks so much for making the time to join the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a wonderful experience and connecting to all the wonderful nature journaling people around the world, and like talking to you in live and not just listening to your wonderful stories up in the trees and somewhere everywhere.
Yay.
Mm.
Thanks everyone for joining.